Hello everyone, Namaste, I am Dhaval sir, and our today's topic for your standard 9th social science is chapter number 5, the movement towards independence. Again, in your previous chapters, students, you have seen that how the Britishers they had taken control over India and how they were ruling India and exploiting the Indians with their power or supremacy, right? So later on, many different movements were carried out in India to fight against the Britishers, and one such movement which we have already seen in our previous chapter was the first movement of independence, which was in 1857, right? And that was for the first time when the whole of India together they tried to fight against the Britishers, right? And later on, the people of India they realized or they understood that India is our own country and we need to fight against the Britishers and remove them out of our country because it is our own nation, and the way the Britishers they were treating the Indians was not the correct or the right way, right? So later on they started fighting against the Britishers. Many different national leaders were there, right? The extremist group and the moderates, even they had made a lot of efforts in their own different ways to fight against the Britishers. Then again in this chapter we are going to study how the Gandhian era started, right? How Gandhiji, when he came from South Africa, he saw the situation of the Indians, right? Because he himself had suffered the exploitation in South Africa when he had gone over there for his higher studies of magistrate. So over there he had experienced the difference between the white skin and the black skin people. So later on when he came to India, he felt that the behavior of the Britishers towards the Indians is absolutely wrong, and for that we need to unite together and fight against the Britishers. So for that, when he came to India, first of all he just moved around the nation trying to find out what is the problem, what is the base or the root problem of the nation, right? Then later on, after moving around the whole nation, he started getting involved in the activities to fight against the Britishers in the non-violent way. We have also heard about the different movements started by him, like the Quit India movement, civil disobedience movement, satyagraha movement, right? So in this way many different movements took place in India, and because of that only our country got independent. So let us begin with the explanation of the chapter from your textbook, okay, which is on page number 31. So let us begin from the textbook now. The period from 1920 to 1947 is considered as a Gandhian era, right? So that I have already told you, because this was the period when Gandhiji he started getting involved in the activities to free India from the clutches of the Britishers, okay? And the Gandhian movements of struggle for independence, this second stage of national movement of India is the struggle for having constitutional rights. Moreover, it is the struggle for the freedom of India too, right? We all are aware regarding the World War which took place, the First World War, even the Second World War, and we all know that during the Second World War, the Britishers they took Indian soldiers to fight on their behalf in the Second World War, and almost 10 lakh soldiers, 10 lakh Indian soldiers they had died. At that time the Indians they had thought that the Britishers they will have a kind of liberal attitude, they will show a kind of sympathy towards them, but exactly opposite to that, what happened? The Britishers they became more cruel. They implemented oppression, right? That is the cruel or harsh behavior of their power, and more Indian farmers, the cottage industrial people, they were exploited. The main reason behind that was that during the Second World War they had spent a lot of money, that is millions or billions of rupees, right? So they had spent a lot of money, they were not having enough money, and because of that what had happened, they started exploiting the Indians. But the Indians, they were not going to stop for their own rights. So they kept on fighting against the Britishers, and slowly and gradually the hold of the Britishers on the Indians, they were loosening, right? Their hold on the Indians was loosening. That means even the Indians, they had realized, as well as the Britishers, they had realized that for a very long period of time we are not going to have the same control or hold over the Indians. So they also started adopting different tactics, right? So they wanted to give India the dominant status, right? So dominant status means what? That means the India will be given the freedom, but ultimate power will be in the hand of the Britishers. So Indians, they didn't want that thing, and for that also the Britishers, they were supposed to form one committee which was known as Simon Commission, which they had formed, right? So all these details we are going to study over this chapter, right? So let us proceed further. So this struggle passed from a stream of events, and there was a uniform effect on it. We shall observe the effects in this chapter. So first one is about the Simon Commission, right? For the Constitution of India, that means the Britishers, they wanted to frame the Constitution for India. That means, again we know what is Constitution, right? So Constitution basically consists of the rules and regulations. So they wanted to form the provisional Constitution, and for that they had decided a time frame or a period which was of 10 years, that in 10 years they will decide about all these things. But within 2 years only, they had formed a commission which was known as Simon Commission. Again, the Simon Commission consisted of 7 members, except the person after whose name this commission was formed, that was Montfort, Chelmsford, right? So total 8 people were there in this commission. But the problem what the Indians faced was that this commission was formed for the formation of Constitution for the Indians, but actually what happened, none of the Indians were included in it, and therefore the Indians, right, because if for us, for Indians, if the Constitution is to be framed, if the laws, if the rules and regulations are to be framed, then at least we should be a part of it, because we know what our problems are, means what suggestions we want to give, what problems we are facing. But none of the Indians were included in that. So when the Simon Commission, when it arrived to India, there was a lot of opposition seen from the Indians, right? So such kind of incident is also mentioned over here. So let us find out. Simon Commission 1942. Montfort Amendment declared that a commission should be sent to India after 10 years to examine the effects and operations of the constitutional reforms and to suggest more reforms for India, right? So they wanted to frame a commission to frame the laws, rules, regulations for the Indians, okay? But 2 years later, government appointed Simon Commission. So as it is written that 10 years was the time decided, but within 2 years only the Britishers, they appointed Simon Commission. The commission consisted of Sir John Simon and 7 other members. All of them were members of the British Parliament. There was not a single Indian as a member, right? So this was the major problem why the Indians opposed the Simon Commission. Indians recommended inclusion of Indian members. Indians recommended, that means they gave their suggestion that at least some of the Indians should be included in this Simon Commission or the group, so that they can suggest or give their opinions regarding the Indians, right? So Indians recommended inclusion, that means they should include of Indian members in the commission so as to understand the problems and pains of Indian society. But Britishers rejected this recommendations, right? But what did the Britishers do? They just rejected. They said no. Only the commission which is appointed by us, that is the Simon Commission, which consists of 8 people, will decide everything. So the Indians decided to oppose it. Simon Commission was greeted with strikes. Greeted means usually whenever in the class when the teacher comes we say good morning, hello, hi, how are you, right? So this is a kind of greeting. Again when anyone comes at our home we say welcome, please, right? So this is all known as greeting. So when the Simon Commission, when it arrived India, right, so how they were greeted, that is by strikes. That means the people, they did strikes, assembly, processions means a kind of rally, loud slogans of Simon go back, right? The people, they just opposite by saying Simon go back, Simon go back, and unfurling of black flags and apparels. Apparels means the clothes. Black flag. Why black flag? The reason for that is because the people, they were in the mood of opposing, right? And usually black color is used for opposing anything. So when the Simon Commission, when it arrived India, the people, they had black colored flags, which suggested that they are not welcoming them, they are just opposing them. Okay. The British government suppressed the movement mercilessly, right? That means when the people, they were opposing this Simon Commission, the British government suppressed means they tried to control the people in a merciless and a harsh way. That means by doing lathi charge and by beating them and then putting them in the jail and all, right? So the assistant police superintendent ordered lathi charge on Lalaji's procession, right? So the rally, which was the procession which was headed by Lala Lajpat Rai. So on that procession, the superintendent of the British police, he ordered lathi charge. That means the lathi charge was done, and then what happened? Lala Lajpat Rai was injured seriously while taking the lead of the procession in Lahore, right? So he got very much seriously beaten up by it, okay? And later on, few months later, he passed away. So in such a cruel way he was beaten up that he just passed away, or he died in after few months. The news of Lalaji's death instigated Veer Bhagat Singh. Instigated means they were filled with anger, right? So Veer Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev and Rajaguru, therefore they killed Saunders. That means they got so much angry with this incident, they were so much affected by this incident of Lala Lajpat Rai getting died away, that they got angry and they again killed one of the British officer whose name was Saunders. Moving ahead to the next paragraph, that is Nehru Committee. With the opposition of Simon Commission, Hindi Wazir Burkhan had presented a draft of the constitution as in Simon Commission, in which it stated that the Indian leaders of all the parties formulate appropriate constitution which the British government will further think upon. That means under this, what happened? The Britishers, they said that the parties, the Indian political parties, they need to prepare or formulate the constitution and they need to present it to the Britishers. They will go through the points in it and they will further think upon it, right? They will not directly accept it. By understanding the challenges of this report, National General Assembly President drafted Nehru Committee report. This report, which was given, is known as Nehru Report, which states the dominant status, independent judiciary, fundamental rights and adult suffrage, right? So these were the requirements by the Indians, right, under Nehru Report. So dominant status, I have already told, it means that it was the kind of system, right, wherein the India, it will become independent, but it will be still under certain restrictions from the British Empire. That means Indians will be given the status of independence, but again they will be under the control of the Britishers. Then independent judiciary, that means the Indians said that we want our own judiciary system which will be independent, not having any kind of relation with the government or the British government, right? Then fundamental rights, that means being the citizen of India, even they should have their own basic fundamental rights. Adult suffrage, again we all know what is adult suffrage. We have seen in the previous chapters of your civics, that is chapter number 10, 11, 12, where you had read about adult suffrage, right, wherein the person who is 18 years or above gets the right to vote. Eventually, the British government rejected the recommendations made in this report, right. So what all demand or the things which were recommended in this Nehru report was rejected by the Britishers. Okay. So next paragraph, demand for complete independence, 1929. During this time, National Assembly members Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose were active national leaders. That means they were very much active. They were the propagators of complete independence. Propagators means in Gujarati, if we say, it is known as Prachar Prasar. They were the propagators of complete independence. Youth of India were not happy with the dominion status. Again, I have explained you what is the meaning of dominion status. So the Indians, the youth of India, they were not happy with that. Why? Because over there were certain restrictions, right? If we are getting a dominant status, then too we are not totally or completely free. So which was not liked by the youth of the India, and they just wanted to reject that. They didn't want to accept that. On the banks of river Ravi in Lahore, under the leadership of Jawaharlal Nehru, National General Assembly passed a resolution of complete independence. That means we don't want any kind of dominant status, we just want complete independence, where all the rights, all the freedom is there to the Indians to do whatever they want to, because it is their own nation, right? So after that, on 26th January 1930, the members took the oath of complete independence, right? Again, we should get a question, or many times we might have thought, why is it so that 26th January is considered to be our Republic Day? So the answer for that is this, that it was on this day when the people of the India, they had taken an oath, they had decided, or they had promised themselves that we will have complete independence for India, right? Since then, January 26 has become memorable for all of us. Independent India has made the Republic Day memorable by implementing the Constitution of India on this day, right? So it was for the first time when the Indians, they had decided for complete independence, and they had taken the oath also, right? So to make that day memorable, our Indian Constitution, right, was passed, means it was implemented on 26th January 1950, right, and we celebrate that day as our Republic Day, right? So this is the importance of 26th January. Okay, again moving to the next page, that is page number 32, right? So here the next paragraph is Dandi Yatra, that is from March 12 to April 16. Right, so again it is a very famous incident, we all know about it. Dandi Yatra was again a movement started by Gandhiji against the tax which was imposed on the salt, right? So for that, Gandhiji had carried out the Dandi Yatra by moving across the places or the sea coast of Gujarat. So let us find out what is given over here. As a part of civil disobedience movement, right, as a part of civil disobedience movement, Gandhiji decided to go to Dandi village by its sea coast. Gandhiji decided to go to Dandi village by its sea coast to break the salt law. Why to break the salt law? Because again we know, right, the Britishers, they had imposed tax even on the salt, and which was not acceptable. Why it was not acceptable? Because we all know that salt is something which is very basic, right, like water. We cannot survive without water. In the same way, whatever food we consume, everywhere we use the salt. So salt is a very basic thing, and tax on that was not accepted by the people of India. So what is written is, on the 11th March evening, in the assembly of thousands of people, the message of satyagraha was sent. right? The message of satyagraha was sent to the whole nation, right? Even if people got arrested, with firm determination of non-violence, struggle against government continued. That means even during that procession of Dandi March, right, the Britishers, they were getting hold of the Indians and they were putting them behind the bars or the jails. But what Gandhiji had ordered was that you keep on moving, keep on continuing the non-violent movement of satyagraha against the Britishers, right? And they proceeded in the same way. And on 12th March 1930, under his leadership, Gandhiji commenced Dandi Yatra with his supporters from Harijan Ashram. Right? Earlier it was known as Harijan Ashram, later on it is known as Rao. At present it is known as Gandhi Ashram. Right? So, singing the hymn. Hymn means it is a religious song which is Vaishnav Jan to Tenere kahiye ji Peer Parai Janere. Right? So, this is a very good song which was sung by Gandhiji. Okay. So, he started with this song. Gandhiji said in Dandi Yatra, 29th March 1930, I shall die the death of crow and dog, but I will not return to this ashram without attaining Purna swaraj. Right? So, these were the words, actual words of Gandhiji. What he said, that even though if the Britishers they treat me in a very cruel or harsh way, if I have to die the death of a crow or a dog, I don't care, but I will not return to this ashram without getting Purna Swaraj. Purna means complete, Swaraj means independence. So, that was what the Gandhiji had decided at that point of time, right? Brave never run away from struggle. The only one who runs by seeing the struggle is not brave. Again, these are the words of Gandhiji. Gandhiji, along with his supporters, started the Dandi March. This march was 370 kilometers, which included Aslali, Bareja, Nadiad, Anand, Boriavi, Ras, Jambusar, Bharuch, Surat, Navsari, as well as small and large regions, right? So, these are the regions which were covered during the Dandi Yatra, which are a part of India, Gujarat. Okay. During Dandi March in these regions, people were explained the reason for civil disobedience movement and breaking the salt law, right? So, when they kept on moving by walking, they kept on explaining this thing to the villagers, that why they are carrying out this movement, what is the importance of it, so that even they get means they can understand the importance of it, and even they used to join the movement, right? So, this was how more and more number of people they joined the movement and they gathered over there, right? As Dandi March passed through this small and large towns, people used to clean the village roads, decorate their houses with torrents, and showed consigns for this satyagraha. Showed consigns means they appreciated it and they showed their concern. They were happy, right? They were in they were in favor of this protest, and it was a kind of celebration, right? Because the Indians, they were trying to fight against the Britishers for their independence. Okay. So, Dandi Yatra had a wonderful effect in creating astonishing fact, unity and consciousness among people. That means they kept on moving, and the people, they were explained the importance of it, and they became more and more aware towards the independence of India, right? All of the nation was having a wave of satyagraha. That means the wave of satyagraha which was started by Gandhiji. Again, before few years when we had our general elections, we have heard this word, right? Modi Leher or wave of Modi ji. So, in the same way, during that period of time also, it was known as wave of satyagraha, which was started by Gandhiji. That means over the whole nation, right? All the people all over the India, they got the information about this Dandi Yatra, and even they got much motivated or inspired to fight against the Britishers. Gandhiji, along with his colleagues and supporters, reached Dandi after 24 days of march. March means the procession, the movement. Okay. On early morning of 6th April, Gandhiji broke the salt law by picking a handful of salt. That means what did he do? He just took the salt in his hand, and this was his way of showing that we are not obeying the rules or laws framed by the Britishers, and this is how we are breaking the law, and we will not follow whatever the Britishers are saying to us. So this is how we broke the salt law, right? In a loud voice, Gandhiji stated, I have broken the salt law. And while addressing the people gathered there, he uttered, I, by this event, am applying salt to the foundation of building in the form of British Empire. So again, we all live in a place which is Bhavnagar. Again, it is situated near the coastal area. So we all are very much aware that what does the salt do, right? Because usually the coastal areas, they have salt proportion more in amount. So usually what does it do? Because of that salt proportion, in Gujarati we say it as a khara, right? So because of that salt, what happens? Usually the foundations of the buildings, they become weak over years. So this is what the British Gandhiji was trying to say, that again I'll read it out. I, by this event, am applying salt to the foundation of the building in the form of British Empire. That means he had started the efforts to weaken the foundation or the power of the Britishers in India. Shri Mahadev Bhai Desai has compared this event as Mahabhinishkarman. Mahabhinishkarman means what? Here the meaning is given, the great renunciation. Renunciation means what again? So renunciation means to give away, right? Again, this word renunciation we have all heard or read at the time of Gautam Buddha, right? When he was meditating under the Bodh Gaya Bodhi tree, right? So he had given away, or he had parted away with all the worldly pleasures, which was known as renunciation. Okay, to give away, right? Journalists, photographers, right, writers, historians of India and across the world visited and published a report about what they witnessed in their own newspapers and booklets. That means this was considered to be the very big or great event. So the people from all around the world, right, they were very much eager to find out how this thing happened. How did the people or the person, one person in India, who with his non-violent efforts defeated the Britishers? Because usually the processions or the fight, right? So fight usually never takes place without the weapons, but it was the Indian person whose name was Gandhiji who fought against the Britishers with his non-violent efforts. That means without using any kind of weapons. So many people, not only in India but around the world, they got inspired from Gandhiji. So they wanted to publish about this event in their newspapers and booklets. In this way, the Dandi Yatra, which started from Sabarmati Ashram on 12th March, was nationally acclaimed. Nationally acclaimed means throughout the India, whole nation, they came to know about this event and they appreciated it. So nationally acclaimed, achieved its physical completion, but it started applying salt to the foundation of building in the form of British Empire. That means even the people around India, that means at different corners of India, they started fighting against the Britishers in the non-violent way, following the steps or footsteps of Gandhiji, and they were trying to weaken or shaken the foundation of the Britishers from India. Civil disobedience movement generated new national consciousness among people of India, right? So that means through this movement, that is civil disobedience movement, the people all around India, they got much awareness, right? What are their rights, what are their duties, what they should do for their own nation, right? The British police beat them mercilessly. Lathi charge, arrest, shooting and oppression, OPPRESSION, operation. Again, earlier I had explained the meaning of this. If a person or a group is having a power, right, and if they are using that power in a very harsh or a cruel way, it is known as oppression. On women and children continued, but agitation did not decrease. But the agitation did not decrease. That means the intensity of the people, right, to fight against the Britishers, that did not affect anyway, did not affect to them anyway. They kept on fighting against the Britishers, right. During Dandi March, numerous constructive programs like boycott of foreign goods, foreign clothes. Boycott means to ban, totally not to use the foreign clothes. Then prohibition of liquor. Liquor means alcohol. That means to prohibit that thing. Removing untouchability, which was prevalent in India. Okay. Hindu-Muslim unity and oath to do social services, etc. were held. That means the people, they decided that we will all fight together against the Britishers, right. Next is Dandi Yatra and breaking of salt law brought not only nationwide consciousness, but it brought fame in aspects of non-violent struggle and movement worldwide. So that I have already explained, that it was for the very first time that this thing was seen by the people around the world, that a war was fought. It is a kind of war only, which was fought without any kind of arms or ammunitions, right, which was the non-violent movement. Okay. Processions, programs and assemblies were conducted for boycotting foreign goods, prohibition of foreign liquor and picketing on liquor making. So picketing means a protest or a strike, right. So that means they protested against the making of liquor in India. Not giving revenue tax, that means the people of India, they stopped giving tax to the Britishers. Satyagraha for removal of untouchability. To weaken this agitations, as I said, it means to try to get people to support or oppose something. Agitation means to try to get support of people, right, for anything positive or negative. Okay. So to weaken these agitations and struggles, the government started lathi charge, imprisonment and other atrocities. Atrocities means very cruel or a terrible act or action, right. Atrocities means a very cruel or harsh behavior or action, right. So they started behaving in a very cruel way, in a merciless way with the Indians. People reacted by destroying of railway station, post office, police stations and other government buildings. That means the Indians, they started destroying the government property, that is the British government. Incidents like suppression of agitation under the leadership of Abdul Ghaffar Khan, who was known as Frontier Gandhi, at Wadala, Bombay. Struggle against foreign liquor under the leadership of Kasturba Gandhi in Bombay. Gharshana in Surat and in Viramgam during the salt law agitation. Renunciation of government services as well as removal of children from government schools were the major highlight of this movements, right. That means they stopped utilizing the government, the British goods. Even the people who were there in the government services, that means who were doing job for the Britishers, they stopped doing those jobs. Even the people who had admitted their students in the English medium school or the British government schools, they all removed their children from the schools. So this is how they protested against the Britishers. Okay. So for today, we'll end our lecture over here only, and the remaining part of the lecture we'll discuss in our next lecture. So till then, take care of yourself, stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you everyone for listening to me carefully.